It happened in a single moment, a moment so bizarre, so impossible that the entire basketball world froze. The Dallas Mavericks had just traded away Luka Dončić, and no one understood why. Fans thought it was a joke, analysts thought it was a glitch, even players around the league were texting each other asking the same question: what are the Mavericks doing? But what no one realized that day was that this wasn't just a bad trade. It was the beginning of the most catastrophic collapse a franchise has ever created for itself. A downfall so severe that even the NBA's biggest disasters look reasonable in comparison. And the deeper you look, the stranger the story becomes. Let's rewind to that moment. February of last year. The trade deadline was approaching, and rumors were swirling, but nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming. The Mavericks were coming off a finals appearance just months before. They had their franchise cornerstone locked in, they had Kyrie Irving, they had the pieces. Then, out of nowhere, Dallas sends Luka Dončić to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a handful of draft picks. The basketball world erupted. Social media imploded. Analysts scrambled to make sense of it. Mark Cuban, who had already sold the team, probably felt relieved he got out when he did. The new ownership group was making moves, and this was their statement to the league. But what kind of statement were they trying to make? On paper, you could squint and see some logic emphasis on squint. Anthony Davis is a defensive anchor, an all-NBA talent when healthy, a proven champion. Maybe Dallas thought they were getting the missing piece to pair with Kyrie. Maybe they believed AD's two-way dominance would be the key to another finals run. Maybe they convinced themselves that Luka's ball-dominant style wasn't the path forward. But here's what they actually did. They traded a 25-year-old perennial MVP candidate, a generational talent who put up 30-point triple-doubles like clockwork for a 31-year-old with one of the most concerning injury histories in modern basketball. They swapped certainty for risk. They traded the future for a gamble. And everyone watching knew it was a disaster waiting to happen. The question wasn't if it would blow up in their faces. The question was how badly. This past Wednesday, the NBA world experienced one of the most chaotic trade deadlines in recent memory. What started as a quiet week suddenly exploded into absolute madness. Trades were flying in from every direction. James Harden to the Cavaliers, Garland to the Clippers, Vooch to the Celtics, Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz, Jared McCain to the Thunder. The league was reshuffling itself in real time, and right in the middle of this frenzy came the news that made everyone's jaw drop for the second time in a year. The Dallas Mavericks were trading Anthony Davis after just one season. After mortgaging their entire future to get him, after trading away the face of their franchise for him, they were already moving on. The deal sent AD and company to the Washington Wizards in exchange for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, 2 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks. At first glance, if you're not paying attention, you might think, okay, that's not terrible. They got some players back, some picks, they're retooling, but the moment you actually stop and think about what just happened, the moment you let it sink in, you realize the Mavericks didn't just make another bad trade. They completed what might be the most catastrophic two-trade sequence in basketball history. Because here's what really happened. Dallas got Anthony Davis for Luka 1 year ago, and now they just flipped AD for role players and middling draft assets. Which means, when you trace it all back, when you connect the dots, the Mavericks essentially turned Luka Dončić into this haul. And that's when the real horror sets in. Let's do the math, because the numbers tell a story that's somehow even uglier than it sounds. When you consolidate everything Dallas received across both trades, here's the total haul for Luka Dončić. Chris Middleton, Max Christie, Marvin Bagley, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and some expiring contracts. Sounds like a lot, right? But here's where it falls apart. Most of these assets are either worthless or completely overvalued. Max Christie is a solid role player, Chris Middleton can still contribute when healthy, Marvin Bagley exists, the rest are developmental pieces at best. Now let's talk about those draft picks. The 2026 first rounder from the Thunder, that's picking 30th, dead last. The 2030 Warriors pick is top 20 protected and 4 years away. The second rounders are complete dice rolls. The Wizards openly said they were ecstatic because those picks had so little value. Strip away the filler, and here's what the Mavericks actually got. 1 starter, 2 rotational players, and 1 real first-round pick. For a generational superstar. Compare that to recent blockbusters, the Nets got 5 first-rounders for Mikal Bridges, Rudy Gobert was worth 4 first-rounders and half a roster.